Hi, everyone. Welcome to Songwriting 101, Character Building, Who I Am in Music and Lyrics. My name is Amanda Friedman, and I am the project coordinator here at the National Alliance for Musical Theater, or NAMT, as we like to call it. We are so excited to dive into today's workshop on crafting clear characters in songwriting and to talk more about the application for the Musical Theater Songwriting Challenge for high school students. We have a lot to go over. We're going to move through it pretty quickly, so please know that this is all being recorded, and we'll put it on our website after the event. Today, we're also joined by two very special guests, Rebekah Melocik and Jacob Yandura, the writers of Broadway's How to Dance in Ohio. Before we chat with them, we're going to talk through what the Songwriting Challenge is and go step by step through the application. So let's begin. Here at NAMT, our mission is to support musical theater development, production, innovation, and collaboration. We're a member service organization for the musical theater field, and our members include regional theaters, academic institutions, presenters, producers, and students. We do this through a number of programs, including our annual Festival of New Musicals, semi-annual educational conferences, 2 granting programs, and of course, the Musical Theater Songwriting Challenge for high school students, an initiative of the National Endowment for the Arts. The process of being involved in the Songwriting Challenge for high school students is an exciting artistic journey. The student, that's you, writes a song that could be part of a larger musical, and that show doesn't even have to be completed or written, just an idea. Then, students will submit that initial song to our Draft 1 round, in which all songs will be listened to and reviewed by a wide panel of NAMT students, or NAMT members, NAMT artists, challenge partners, and more. All students will receive feedback on their initial submission from these professionals. So right off the bat, there's an immediate creative development component for all participants. Students will then have the opportunity to reshape their song based on the feedback received and submit the song again in our Draft 2 round. They'll show us how they've implemented these notes and give us more information about the character and narrative development within the song. This is the competitive round and contention for the winners weekend. Finally, from there, we'll select several winners that will have a chance to come to New York City, receive direct one-to-one mentorship from NAMT artists and more as they develop their song and prepare for a one-night-only event where their songs will premiere on stage with Broadway talent. And it's very exciting to see some familiar faces who submitted to last year's Songwriting Challenge. So looking at the timeline of this program, here are the immediate things you need to know. Submissions are currently open, and they will stay open until January 31st, 2025. This is for Draft 1 submissions where you'll receive feedback only. Songs will receive feedback in March 2025, and participants will have about 1 month to digest that feedback and implement it into their Draft 2 submission, which will open on March 21st. This is the competitive round, and students must have submitted to Draft 1 in order to be eligible to submit to Draft 2. Draft 2 submissions will close on April 18th. Songs will be evaluated, and a handful of winners will be selected and invited to Winners Weekend in New York City to workshop their materials, premiere their songs live in concert, and fully immerse in all things theater in June 2025. And speaking of Winners Weekend, let's talk a little more about what the students will be receiving at the end of this. First, in true NAMT tradition, there will be a cohort of winners representing the breadth and depth of submissions sent in. Students will be matched with NAMT writers and other prominent artists in the musical theater field to coach them through skill building, technique, process, lifestyle, and anything you can really imagine. Students will get sessions with their mentor writers to discuss the work they've done, what they want to do, and how to better the song they've written. Students will also meet with our music team, who will develop the orchestrations, build out charts, and help bring to life the music that the student has written and tried to capture in their submission demo. And this is all working toward a one-night-only concert event of the winning songs and more in NYC featuring Broadway talent that'll be live captured and streamed nationwide. And finally, there will be even more. We'll see shows and meet those working on stage and off to have a fully rounded experience on Broadway. Remember that there are interactive workshop opportunities throughout the submission process for all student participants to be a part of. For a list of full upcoming Challenge EDU events, go to namp.org/challenge. So to get started, here are a couple of places you can go for more resources. You can go to arts.gov/songwriting to learn more about the history of the Musical Theater Songwriting Challenge. NAMP.org/challenge is your one-stop shop for all things challenge. more about the program, upcoming events, songs from our previous winners, and the Writing is Rewriting Resource Center. Submissions for Draft 1 of this year's Songwriting Challenge are due January 31st. And here are some of the NAMT staff emails if you have any questions. And if you run into any technical issues, you can go to namp.org/submission-help. The Writing is Rewriting Resource Center is live on the NAMT website at namp.org/rewriting. As you begin working on Draft 1 of your songs, check out the Resource Center for learning modules, songwriting tips, and recordings of past challenge events. If you're feeling stuck or looking for inspiration, the Resource Center is there for you. Here are a few more things that you can do to prepare for submitting to the Songwriting Challenge. We use Submittable for all of our applications. So make sure that 1, notifications@submittable.com is in your email contacts. 2, you've successfully made an account on Submittable and remember the password. 3, you have checked out the submission guidelines. And 4, that the student and a parent or guardian have signed the consent form available on namp.org/challenge. In step 1, when you begin to fill out your application in Submittable, you'll be asked to fill out the song name and the song credits. So who's the music by and who are the lyrics by. Step 2 will ask you about your information. So you'll fill out your name, your address, your contact information, and your grade and school. Steps 3 and 4 will ask you a few survey questions. First, how did you hear about the challenge? And yes, you should be following @nampt_org on Instagram. Second, we have a couple more optional questions about you. These don't factor into the review of your application. It's just a means of monitoring who we're reaching. Step 5 is going to ask you, is there another writer? This is really important. We need to know if another student writer contributed to the song and would participate in this experience. If so, select yes, and you'll be asked to complete everything again for the additional writer. If not, then you'll be able to keep going easily. Step 6 asks a few specific questions. Question 1, what we need to know here is that the song is both by you and by students. If the answer is no here, email us because you may not be eligible. Question 2, we're looking for new works. So if it's already produced or licensed, it may not be eligible. Email us if your answer is yes on question 2. Question 3, we want to make sure you can join us if you win. Let us know that you'll be able to travel to NYC in mid-June in 2025. Specific dates will be announced shortly. All expenses are paid for the winners and 1 chaperone. Step 7, about your song. Tell us what is happening in the moment that your song takes place. Who is singing? Who are they singing to? What do they want? When and where are they? What else might be happening in this big musical story? And don't forget, what inspired this for you? Where is this coming from and why? You can write this ahead of time and paste it into the section there. Step 8, here is where you'll confirm that the submission is yours and the work here belongs to you. Also, this is where that parent or guardian completed form will be uploaded. You can find that form both in the application itself and on namp.org/challenge. Go ahead and make sure both the student and parent or guardian completes it, and then upload that signed document in this section. And note that that form has 2 pages you're required to fill in, so please upload both or I will send you a strongly worded email. Step 9, uploads. Here you'll start to upload the actual song components itself. First, you'll upload a demo of your song. Your demo can be up to 10 minutes long, but you should try to aim for about 5 minutes or less for the committee. Make sure you are checking the approved file types here. In this next box, place your written lyrics. You can write these in a note or document and copy and paste, but be sure the format is readable and makes sense. Some notes about the audio demos. Clarity is most important. We have to be able to hear exactly what you want us to hear clearly. Quiet background and simple setup are best. And that's important too, keeping it simple. We can use our imaginations for what a full sound of the song is. A simple melody with maybe some simple solo supporting accompaniment is fine. A cappella submissions are also acceptable. And do it with feeling. Make sure we're getting the style and mood of the song. Interpret it as an actor. It's for a musical. Next, you have the option to upload a 2-minute intro video or a 1-page introductory statement about you. Here are a few things to think about with this. Again, clear and simple. Don't do too much, nothing flashy. A simple direct address is fine. And keep it short. 2 minutes goes by fast, so plan out what you want to say wisely. Be open. We really want to get to know you here. What's interesting to you about songwriting and why do you want to do this? You also have the opportunity to upload a written score. This is optional and doesn't affect the review of your application. Step 10 is the final check. Be sure to fix any errors that appear in red text throughout the application, and check to make sure you've included the right files. Then hit submit when you're ready to send in your application. We'll review the submissions and let you know if we spot an error or a question, and you'll get the chance to make changes if we need you to. And that's it. Congrats on submitting to the Songwriting Challenge. You'll receive a confirmation email from notifications@submittable.com, so make sure it's in your email contacts. Feedback will come back for all Draft 1 submissions in March, and keep an eye out for an email from a NAMT staff member. And we have more events coming up. So in addition to tonight's exciting program, which we are going to get to very soon, we have office hours coming up on Monday, November 4th from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Songwriting 201 on Monday, November 18th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern, and Songwriting Lab on Monday, December 16th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern. You can register now for all of these events at namp.org/challenge. And now I am so excited to introduce our very special guests, the writers of Broadway's How to Dance in Ohio, Rebekah, Greer, Melocik, and Jacob Yandura.
Hi, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. My name is Jacob Yandura. I'm the composer of How to Dance in Ohio.
And I'm Rebekah Greer Melocik, and I wrote the lyrics and the book to How to Dance in Ohio.
The book.
The book. It's so nice to be. We're giggly tonight. So thank you for being on this journey with us. Today we're going to look at some songs from How to Dance in Ohio, just a couple of them, and we're going to be looking at how they demonstrate character through music and lyrics. So we're going to focus on one character from the show, Meredith, and the first song that she sings is called Unlikely Animals, and we're going to play the first half of it, and we just want you to listen and look at the lyrics. So easy.
Australia is an island out in the Pacific that's mostly a desert. Australia is a lesson in what isolation and distance can do. A land of unlikely animals, so strange they couldn't possibly be true. Platypus is venomous, but only aggressive when cornered and frightened. A baby kangaroo will hide inside her mother's pouch till she's grown. Koalas are my favorite, 'cause koalas much prefer to be alone. In Australia, the snakes will kill you. The jellyfish will kill you too. Maybe it's better that I'll only ever see them in a zoo.
Awesome. So by listening to the music and reading the lyrics, what do you discover about Meredith as a character who sings the song? You can type answers in the chat or raise your hand and we can unmute yourself and we can discuss that.
So what do you discover about the character Meredith through the music and the lyrics? It's nice.
Wow.
incredibly smart. She loves animals. She likes to be alone.
Alone.
Me too. Yep, she relates to koalas because they like to be alone. Wildlife. Oh yes, she's very interested in wildlife, and it serves as a reflection of herself. Yes, B. Those are really great. Those are really great. Anyone else want to jump in there? Oh, she puts emphasis on the word alone. Maybe she takes a trip to Australia for some time alone, but comes to regret it, her
Oh.
interest in Australia. Awesome. These are great answers.
All spot on.
Yeah. So before we dive in more, I want to give you guys a little bit of context for this song. So the scene that the song happens in takes place in a diner, and Meredith is with her dad, and the diner is a bit of a sensory challenge for Meredith. Meredith's dad wants to talk about this spring formal that her therapy group is putting on, but she keeps answering his questions with facts about Australia. So it seems like she's giving these unrelated answers, but there's a little bit more to it. So when we first started writing for Meredith, who's, I don't have a favorite character, but she's like in my top 3. I relate to her a lot.
She's one of my favorites.
Yeah, we love Meredith. But we knew that part of the challenge of her character was that she plays her emotions really close to the cuff. And when we think about musical theater, we think about Broadway, it's like big emotion and it's big and it's out. And when it's not usually is like small internal moments, that's more film. So we thought, okay, well, how are we going to give her these emotional moments through songs without betraying how internal she is? So we kind of took a peripheral approach from it. So part of this song, it shows Meredith's A to C thinking. And let me explain what that is. So the A would be the social element of the dance that her dad introduces. The B is social isolation that she feels and that she worries is going to be worse if she goes to the dance. And then there's the C, geographic isolation of Australia. And so part of Meredith's character is that she skips over the B part, right? So like you think that, oh, she's not actually listening to her dad. He doesn't think that she's listening. He's just trying to have a conversation. But really, she's making this connection to Australia. She's just leaving out the B part. And this helps us see this main conflict play out, which is that Meredith wants to be her authentic self. She likes to be alone. She likes facts. This is her passion. But she's also really curious about forming deeper connections with people. And sometimes that first part becomes an obstacle to the second. Everyone following along? Great. Okay. So we also knew that we always wanted to musicalize this moment. Like a lot of what Jacob and I do when we're doing adaptation is we go through the story and we say, this is a song, I love this. And this one was very personal for me. We loved the moment in the documentary, but also my sister had lived in Australia for 20 years. So I've been there like dozens of times. I love Australia. And in fact, one of my favorite things about Australia is how isolated it is. And Meredith and I have this in common too, whereas like in the lyric, we're using this isolation, like in some ways it might feel a little sad, like, oh, she's on this island in the middle of the ocean, but actually Meredith loves being alone. So for me, I liked turning that idea of isolation on top of its head. So maybe it's not such a bad thing. I also, when I was writing this lyric, wanted to use words and phrases that felt really specific to Meredith. Does everybody know the term diction, the literary term? Yeah? Diction is like the kind of language that your character is going to be using. So I think Meredith has a really good sense of humor. And so I wanted to have little lines in there that were like, the snakes will kill you, the jellyfish will kill you too. And like, we always get a nice little laugh in the theater where at the beginning of the song, people were like, oh, this is such like a beautiful, delicate moment. And then it's like, no, but Meredith's funny, like maybe I'm glad that I only see these killer animals in a zoo, in a cage. And then the other thing with her diction was that she had to have verisimilitude, my favorite word for this show, which was that everything had to be correct, precise, factual, which I will be honest was not my strong suit. That's not my spiritual domain. Sloppy with facts, true confessions. And we're gonna circle back to that. I think, wait, are we listening to the rest of it first? No, we're not. Okay, I'm gonna tell you this funny story, which is that the diction has to be so precise in this show. And we had this platypus character. It says the platypus we had is poisonous, for that nice alliteration. The platypus is poisonous. And then if someone who came and saw the show wrote, I think it actually might have been two people, quite
During previews.
yeah, quite annoyed with us about the platypus is not poisonous, it's venomous, which is a very different thing, which I will never mess up again. And we made the change immediately as soon as we heard, because Meredith would never get that wrong. That is not Meredith's vocabulary.
No, we do miss the alliteration.
Yes, we love alliteration, but you have to stay true to your character.
So now we're going to get into some music theory stuff, which I hope you'll follow along with me on. But when representing Meredith's character in the music, I wanted to make sure that I illustrated her factual language and then her opinionated language. So when you look at the melody, I used pretty much stepwise motion. And for those of you who don't know what stepwise motion, it's a melody that goes note to note. So do, re, mi, re, do, right? That's all going by step. And then there were a few skips, and the skip is do, mi, do, fa, do, so we have that little set leaps or skips a step. So I wanted to use stepwise motion because I wanted to make the character feel precise and cautious. So in measures 9 through 15, you can see the melody ascends or descends by note. And occasionally there's a skip, which is a movement greater than a step, which I already chatted about. In measures 16 through 20, you can see that the melody leaps from a D natural up to a G natural, and stays in the higher part of the scale. This shows that this shows how Meredith feels about what she just learned. So I wanted to really make sure that that was higher and placed, so the listener can know that, that's more important than what she learns, right? How she feels.
What does it sound like, Jacob? Will you give us a demonstration of the leap?
Oh, a leap, yes. Yeah. So but I don't mind. We go up to the octave, but that's a big leap. So also another example of a leap is somewhere over the rainbow, somewhere over the rainbow. So that's kind of, some music theory stuff in there. But again, back to the original melody, stepwise motion in the verses to feel factual and cautious, and then leaps to make it feel more opinionated and more pinpointed. So there's also an instrumental motif that appears in measures 21 through 24 of the sheet music, which I call the connection theme. And so we heard that in the interlude. But I'll explain what that theme does. The theme is basically showing the love connection between Drew and Meredith. And so we first hear that connection theme in Under Control, then we hear it in Waves and Wires and Unlikely Animals, and then we'll also hear it a lot in Drift. And then we hear it right before they connect at the dance, and finally hold hands and dance together. So it's tracking a lot of emotional sort of psychology between them.
And this, if I may, this is really helpful for the person who's doing text in your show as well, because there will be times when Jacob is so good at creating a thematic language in the score that we might get to a certain point and I go, gosh, we really need to portray this emotion, but you know, we need to get to intermission. Like there's not time for me to write a whole scene. And Jacob's like, guess what? I can do it in 4 measures of music. We've already established this is what this means. So it can just, it can help you tighten things up
Yeah.
too.
Should I put that at the piano or are we gonna play a clip?
We
of
can
that?
play it right here. We can listen
Oh,
to that
amazing.
connection theme.
Couldn't possibly be true.
Here we go. So that little phrase you hear throughout the show. So when we get to the next song, Drift, make sure we're listening for that connection theme.
Oh gosh. Okay. I think are we going to listen to the rest of that song, Amanda?
No, just those parts.
Ah,
Not at the
what a
moment.
travesty.
I know, but maybe at the end, if we have time, we can go back to
No,
it
that's
because
okay.
it's a great song. I've been listening
Right.
to it nonstop.
She doesn't go to Australia. Spoiler alert. That's not what happens in the second half. Okay, great. Well, that's fine because we're gonna listen. If my outline is correct, we're gonna listen to the first chunk of Drift, right?
Yep.
Amazing. Perfectly on track. So we told you we like this character Meredith a lot, and this is the other solo that Meredith sings. And we thought this would be a fun one to look at because you can see a bit of her emotional arc in it, and we can compare a little bit of the diction and how that maybe has changed from the first song, which is early in Act 1, and this is the Act 2 opener. Take it away, Amanda.
Can't pay attention to what's on the page. The window keeps catching my eye. Watching the puffiest cumulus clouds drift by. This book is full of phenomenal facts, the kind that I really enjoy. This book I got from a friend who is also a boy. No purpose on their path, just doing what clouds do. They drift like my thoughts drift to you.
Okay. Did we all hear the connection theme? Yes, I love it. So by listening to this section, what parts of the song reinforce what you already know about Meredith? And what's changed from the previous song? Oh, thank you, Brianna.
Yeah, so you can type in the chat or you can raise hands and unmute and shout it out. She likes cool facts. She mentions her loves for facts. She really does love facts. That's a fact. Yeah, she's more excited. She's not using the animal metaphors. These are great. I'm gonna wait just like 10 more seconds. Like she comes out of her comfort zone. Looks like, oh, it looks like from this song, the previous one's, oh,
Yes,
okay,
definitely.
structure B. Hey, hey. That chord change at the end really showed her drifting to whoever
I
she's
love
drifting.
that.
Guess word
That's
painting.
exactly word painting.
She's aware of her thoughts and emotions attached to each thought. Yeah, those connections are there. The facts part of Meredith is shown through the lyrics and the music displays her emotions. Cool. I love that, Jessie. Much more focused on Drew and not on herself. It's more external, less internal. Yes. I love this. And it's funny because the first song that we listened to, Unlike the Animals, takes place in a public space. Like it's in a diner. Meredith is with people. And this song actually takes place in her room. She's by herself. Our director and choreographer did a cute thing with the staging where they had the rest of her therapy group, all of her friends, sort of like as voices in her head in the song. And Jacob wrote these great vocal arrangements. And so in a way, it showed part of her arc that, you know, in this first act, she's so internal and she's struggling to communicate with the world around her. And now her 6 best friends are living rent-free in her head and she has a crush. So it really shows like how that growth has happened. And it's happening the whole time in Act 1. It's just, again, she's just peeking. She barely lets us in. Okay, so I said the context of this song, she's in her room, she's by herself, she's reading a book about the continental divide that has been given to her by her friend Drew. One of my favorite lines in this song is, "This book I got from a friend who is also a boy," because I feel like it just sums up the confusion that we have when our relationship with someone is changing and we're like, what is this even? So in this one, just like in Unlike the Animals, Meredith is using her special interest to express her feelings. So in this case, she's using geography, right? I think when we decided to write this, I think the book moment already happened. I know it did.
Yes.
I know it did. Drew gives her a book at the end of Act 1, and it's supposed to be something that they have in common. But the reason we wrote this song is not that deep. It's because after a workshop in 2022, someone came up to me and was like, does Meredith like Drew? Like, you never actually say if she likes him or not. And then at the end, she's dancing, and we're like, does she want to dance with him? And Jacob and I were talking about how to open Act 2 at the same time, and we were like, oh, this is how we'll open Act 2. We'll let this like very shy character all of a sudden, like, we'll let the audience in and see what's going on in Meredith's heart. And what was great was that Jacob, when we talked about it, was like, oh, I already have this vamp that I wrote for Meredith that we never used.
Yeah, when I first start writing a character, I sit at the piano and start thinking of different grooves, different textures. And this was a very like exploratory, you know, sort of like pointillistic, and we had never used it. It was just like in my unused folder. And so when Rebekah had this idea for a lyric, I went, I think I have something already that might work.
And it was such an easy song to write because the music was perfect and it showed that sort of like nervous excitement of new love. And then when it came to constructing the lyric, I think, well, I knew I wanted it to be about geography, and I liked this idea of continental drift, and this is so silly, but my lyric process really is this simple, where I was like, oh, okay, well, like continents drift, clouds drift, wheels drift, thoughts drift. You know, just sort of went through what drifts, man, and made a logical construction of the lyric that way. But you know, going back to diction, like when we're thinking about the specifics of lyric, like for the hook of this song, Meredith, like we use another geographic, natural, scientific metaphor to describe her feelings. And I really think that phrases in the lyric, like when the continents drift back together like hands that hold, like for me in Meredith's voice, that is about as romantic as something could get. Because as patient as you would have to be to watch these ecological events happen over the course of millions of years, that's how patient you have to be to get to Meredith's heart. Like, that's how slow you have to go with Meredith. And I just think that there's something really romantic in the patience of it all, the anticipation. So I really enjoyed the anticipation. I really enjoyed the diction element of this, and I'll pass it over to Jacob to talk about the music end.
Yeah, so I think these are other really great examples that where the melody we see is sort of structured in stepwise motion again. You know, can't pay attention to what's on the page, that all moves by step. And then in the choruses, use a lot of leaps and skips, and so that's just more examples of showing how she feels about it. No purpose on their path, and then some, you know, word painting on they drift. So we have an octave leap, you know, they drift like my thoughts drift to you. And also, I think Sam you wrote about how the music feels like it's drifting away, right? And so that was right on. At the end of that phrase, I wanted that sort of ebb and flow, that push and pull. Am I comfortable with this? Am I not comfortable with this? What am I doing here?
And Brianna, you really nailed that same point too, like the push and the pull of like, I really like this guy, but I'm much more comfortable reading a book.
Yes. And so did you guys hear the connection themes in the middle? Yes. Awesome. So let's watch a little clip of Drift.
Can't pay attention to what's on the page. The window keeps catching my eye. Watching the puffiest cumulus clouds drift by. This book is full of phenomenal facts, the kind that I really enjoy. This book I got from a friend who is also a boy. No purpose on their path, just doing what clouds do. They drift like my thoughts drift to you.
And then let's listen to the end of the song and see some more of the themes after they're fully reflected.
What do I do with this new information? What meaning should I extract? I've always been better with books than with people. Fact. So I'll stay in my room, hit refresh, find something new, and someday, in some unlikely way, if you stay, which people don't normally do, then in time, maybe I'll drift to you,
Yay!
Okay, we're going back to lyrics. So something else I wanted to explore with Meredith's character in general is repetition. Like repetition and routine is something that's really important to all the younger characters, the autistic characters in our show. And for Meredith, especially in this song, you get the little fact in there, which is just something that she says in the dialogue throughout the show, sometimes in kind of a sassy way. Very interesting disposition with the large interval being in the lyric. Yeah, and this is something about Meredith too, where it's like, sometimes you want to play the opposite game with her, you know, like if the words are saying, I'm gonna stay in, she's going out with the emotion of it. So we get fact in there, and then you might have heard in the very end, she sings, hit refresh, find something new. That's a callback to the opening number. She has a line about screens are safe, facts are safe, tried and true with people, who knows what they'll do. And then I think there's a screens are safe, something about the light being blue. I don't remember my own lyrics, but it's a callback to that. And then even the in some unlikely way, is a little callback to unlikely animals. And you wouldn't get this if you don't know the show at all, but Meredith's mom has died before the show begins. Like she's been dead for like a year. And so this line always gets me the, if you stay, which people don't normally do, because for me, it hits upon not just Meredith's history with friendships and relationships, but also just like the person closest to her in her life literally left the year before. So I really like that little detail.
Just to answer your question, when we're writing lyrics or music first, I think Rebekah and I have such a good shorthand. We've been writing together for, gosh, 13 years. So, you know, we often play a game of tag. You know, if Rebekah has a lyric, she'll send me a verse or a chorus, just like this song, you know, for example, she sent me, I think, a couple of verses and a chorus. And then after I read it, I thought, oh, I already have something in my back pocket that might work to set it with. So then I took it. I tag on it. And then I worked on it for a little bit, and then it sent it back to her. She loved what I did. And then we kind of, go back and forth that way.
And that continues as we get into rehearsal too. Then our, someone mentioned the choreography, then the staging or the dance in the song makes us go, oh, like it just gives everybody ideas back and forth, and you build the song that way.
I mean, I think the best advice that I think I could get is don't get married to what you put on the page first, be open to new ideas and critiques, because whatever you put on the page first may not be the right thing, or it may be the right thing. But I think with collaboration, that's the most exciting part of having a collaborator and songwriting, in my opinion. So we go back and forth quite a lot, which is awesome. So yeah, let's just to tie that up really quickly. I also want to talk about melodic high points. And so I had a music theory professor say to me once, the most perfect melodies only have one high point in a song. And that's and there is only one high point in this song, and it's on the word time, which Thomas, you pointed to. And so the leap, the in time, that leap is a major ninth, from all the way from a B to a C sharp. So not only is it a high point, but it signifies that Meredith is open to exploring her connection with Drew in her own time. So this might be, a small realization, but the leap signifies that it's a big feeling for her, and it's a big deal.
Well, and if I may, even the amount of emotional distance that Meredith has to cross to get to Drew, like I think even that expanse makes me think of the continents drifting again, where it's like time.
Totally. So I think we're gonna move on to another song called "So Much in Common," which is one of our favorite songs in the show, and means a lot to the cast. If you don't know "So Much in Common," each of the characters has a musical theme associated with them over the same chord progression. So this signifies that every character is working towards the same thing, which is to attend the formal, but they're experiencing the world differently. So Jessica, Drew, and Caroline have the primary melodies in the song. So we're gonna play those three parts for you. I'm gonna go to the piano, and I'm actually gonna play the chord progression first, just so you can hear it on its own.
And I'm gonna move, we're gonna move chairs. We're gonna move the computer.
In here.
There we go.
We good?
Yeah, I think we're good.
So here's an 8-bar chord progression in the verses. You also notice that repetitive ostinato. So that's this, repetitive A flat. I really wanted that pulsating, sort of anxiety feel all throughout. So the chord progression is basically a series of one chords or tonic chords, but they're over different bass notes, which creates all these really cool dissonances. So that's the chord progression for the verses. Now Rebecca's going to sing along with Jessica first.
Great.
1, 2, 3, and
Tommy, can we talk about dragons? Don't get me started on dragons. Oh wow, you too. I like the ones that breathe fire. You also like fire. Of course you do.
So that's Jessica's theme.
Is the balance okay between the piano and the singing? Great.
Now we're going to move to Drew's part. Rebecca's going to sing it up the octave. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and.
Your eyes, no. Your hair, no. Your ears, I don't know. You know what? This is wrong. This is weird. Going poorly as I fear. Don't get
Perfect. And so you notice too, also in the accompaniment arrangement of things, I tried to make each section sound different and that they had their own sort of voice to the music. And then here's the last one, which is Caroline.
All right.
1, 2, 3, and.
Caroline and Jay, Jay and Caroline, J.A. wordless and E for always. I'm certain that one day we'll be family pictures down our home.
Cool. So those are how all the different melodies layer over the chord progression.
Coming back.
Also, before we listen to the whole song, that same chord progression is used in, if you listen to the cast recording, it's in Building Momentum Reprise, and it's in a different sort of arrangement, but it's the music.
What she does.
No, the da 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 da.
Oh, forget me.
Don't listen to Rebecca.
Don't listen to me.
She doesn't know anything.
I barely wrote this show.
But no, it's the music that they're all walking down to the red carpet with. So other themes and motifs laying in there.
Awesome. Yeah, so those 3 parts that we just sang for you, all those motifs layer and come together at some point, like at the midpoint of the song, and everybody just sings everything on top of each other. And oh gosh, I don't remember exactly the order that we wrote everything, but this song in particular, but a lot of songs in this show just ended up becoming a really fun puzzle where, again, Jacob and I do a lot of back and forth where he'd be like, oh, I got this theme into the counterpoint. You're going to be happy. Or, and we just kind of figure out how to slice all the characters in. Yeah. All right, let's do it.
Maybe we all have this in common. Whatever kind of person you like, certain that as soon as you tell them, disaster will strike. I feel ready, I'll be there. I want to show off my moves. I want to stay in this chair and read about ancient geography. Plenty could go wrong tomorrow by simply being me. Tomorrow night.
But I am gonna try.
Yay.
Okay, so now we want to know, how do the characters function individually? How do they function as a community? Their nervousness and their vulnerability is really relatable. So so it's just about like letting each character's version of that nervousness settle in. So we want you guys, we're gonna play a clip of it, right? Of the video? Yeah, so you can see the staging. It helps seeing it three-dimensionally.
Tommy, we've so much in common.
I still want to curl up and die. Maybe this will end in disaster, but I'm gonna try.
Yay! Okay, now we're turning it over to you guys. We want you to think about the characters you are exploring and writing about. We wrote from Meredith's perspective by understanding her passions, and then also her need to proceed cautiously. So we want you guys to think of a question to ask your character. So we pulled a few examples from this Proust, I would never say this correctly, Proust questionnaire, which is hundreds of years old, and I really like to use it. So you can choose one from the list, or you can come up with your own, but spend the next 5 minutes free writing a response from your character's perspective. Don't think too hard. This is just meant to help you discover some details about your character. It's just free association, brainstorming. So hopefully you guys explored some autobiographical details about your character, but I find sometimes people get really deep in the woods about, well, my character attended this university and on their sophomore year they went to this place. And it's a lot of backstory. We don't necessarily need it. So I want to give you guys a little trick to try to activate your characters. This is something that I picked up when we were in grad school, and it's called the 4 engines of drama. And I'm just going to say what they are real fast, which is plot, character, environment, and diction. Okay, so the first one, you see that there's this question: how does your character feel about or respond to the other characters in their world? So for this one, this is to me the engine of drama that's about character. So is that one clear? How does your character, basically, like, how do they interact with other characters in the world? I always like to think about when they go into the grocery store, are they greeting people? What's the interaction with the person at the counter like? So the second question is, how do they feel about or respond to the things that happen to them in your story? So that's like plot. The way that one character responds when they get caught in the rain, totally different than the way that another character does. Or maybe that's too much environment. If the way that they respond when they just missed the bus, one character is like, no, and throws their coffee on the floor, and the other one is like, oh, well, I'll walk, and they fall in love on their walk. So third one, how do they feel about or respond to their environment? If you were writing like a Charlotte Bronte adaptation, like On the Moors, sort of like old-timey England, then you would probably spend a lot of time thinking about the environment and how the character relates to that. And the last one is my favorite, and maybe the least appreciated, which is diction. How does your character engage with language? Does it support them? Does it oppress them? Does it uplift them? Does your character live in a place where everyone else speaks a different language than them? Is your character an 80-year-old who just got a job working at Facebook? I don't know. That seems unrealistic. But anyway, do they work in a place where they don't know the lingo anymore? So I think that one's
That's a cool one.
A fun one. All right, so those are the 4 engines of drama. Will you guys give me a little thumbs up? Are those pretty clear? I ran through them fast. Awesome. Thank you so much. So, for example, we discovered that Meredith is fascinated by Australia, but also a little terrified of it because of some of its realities. This applies to how Meredith feels about Drew. She's intrigued, but she's also scared of the connection. So I would say for this one, this is like how the character responds to other characters. I would say this is actually an example of like Meredith responds to other characters by ignoring them and going into a book. That's the activation here. So let's take another 5 minutes and just think about those questions, the 4 engines of drama, and see if you can activate your character. Is that clear, everybody? Awesome.
Just a reminder to save the date for our upcoming programs in November. We have office hours for the Songwriting Challenge on November 4th from 6 to 8. You can drop in, ask any question. NAMT staff will be there offering tips, tricks, anything you need. And then November 18th, we will have Songwriting 201, Building Character, what I've done with tone and style. So another workshop like this, but different. And make sure to register for that. You can register now at namp.org/challenge. And just thank you all for a great night, and we hope to see you again soon.